Randy so beautifully stated earlier today, we're looking at different nonprofits throughout the community to see what the needs of the community are. And so we had about 16 last spring. We're going to have 6 or 8 more this fall at 10 o'clock. And this is all to help us discern where God wants us to serve in the community using our time and our talents. So we're looking for the needs in the community, and with whom could we partner? Where does God want us to go and to be in partnership in ministry in this community? So we're really fortunate today to have Mr. LaDante Lee from Mental Health America, and he's the Cabarrus County coordinator. And so he's here to tell us about why Mental Health America exists, kind of what they do and how they do it. But it's also with keeping in mind what can we do to partner with them in their mission to, and I'll let him tell you what the mission is, but in order for them to accomplish what they need to accomplish. So thank you very much for being here again this morning, and I'll turn it over to LaDante.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Awesome. Man, it's been a wonderful experience to fellowship with you all, taking part in the Lord's Supper. Thank you, Mr. Chuck, for the introduction. I believe the Lord guides us and he directs us. I saw Mr. Chuck at a coffee shop maybe 2 weeks when I started Mental Health America. He was having coffee meeting, and I saw him. I said, I know he's an influential gentleman in the community. And then weeks later, someone told me his name, Chuck, and then someone introduced us. And then I'm here right now sharing this information with you all. But as Mr. Chuck has said, I am the Cabarrus County Outreach Manager. My job and goal and my objective is to connect MHA with community leaders, community institutions, whether that's faith leaders, business sector, whether that's other nonprofits, and I'm excited to be here today. And I'm not gonna prolong because I don't wanna stand before brunch, lunch, or football, all right? So Mental Health America Central Carolinas, we were founded in 1933, and we've been a voice of hope for those impacted by mental illness in the greater Charlotte area for more than 85 years. MHA provides family support services to parents of children with behavioral, emotional, or mental health needs, peer support for adults living with chronic mental illnesses, and mental health education and preventative trainings to the broader community. MHA's programs bring together mental health consumers, parents, advocates, and service providers to address systemic issues impacting mental health. And that's what Mr. Randy alluded to, legislation, having a broader impact to change laws that impact all of North Carolina citizens. And our mission is simple. It's to provide help, offer hope, and promote mental wellness through advocacy, education, and prevention. And that's our 3 pillars are broken down into our programs. MH programs focus on prevention, education, and advocacy. Our work is guided by the philosophy B for stage 4, the premise that just like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, or any other physical condition, early diagnoses and treatment are key to improving mental health and recovery. Why wait until stage 4? Act now. So our peer and family support programs are as follows: Parent Voice, Compare, and other support resources. Our Parent Voice program offers support services for parents, caregivers, and their youth. They offer one-to-one support by preparing parents for and accompanying them to meetings with schools, service providers, and child and family teams. So that's critical for our Parent Voice staff to accompany families to child and family team meetings in school. A lot of times there's a lot of jargon that social workers or counselors are using, and parents do not understand that. It's always good to have an advocate to walk alongside parents to support them and be an advocate for the parent and child. Compare matches adults living with a mental health diagnosis with compassionate community volunteers who provide one-to-one supportive friendship and mentoring relationships to offset the social isolation and loneliness that accompany mental illness. And that's key. A lot of times when you're dealing with a mental health crisis or you're feeling emotional distress, you feel like you're alone. You feel like no one cares. But by you having that compassionate individual who can walk beside you, listen to you, hear your heart, that gives you the encouragement to know that you're not by yourself. And then we have other support programs that help our families navigate the community by linking them up with other community resources that could help them with housing, with food, with childcare, etc. And then our education piece, which is critical and vital to what we do. Mental Health First Aid, MHFA, is an 8-hour interactive course that teaches participants how to help and assist and support individuals developing a mental health problem or experience a mental health crisis. Virtual classes include 2 hours of self-guided instruction and 6 hours online led by pretty much Kevin Markle. He's our education advocacy director. He does a wonderful job. And the mental health first aid is giving the average citizen those simple tools to be equipped with to recognize a family member, a coworker who may be experiencing a mental health challenge and giving them the tools to intervene and get them connected to that resource, that person that can help them. QPR stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. It's a course designed to train participants in suicide prevention techniques. QPR is an emergency response to someone in crisis and can save lives. QPR is the most widely taught gatekeeper training in the world, and it's a suicide prevention training, evidence-based. I was able to facilitate an online QPR training this past Friday, and the motto is ask a question, save a life. And a lot of times asking that the S question can be tough for many people, but going through this course allows you to learn how to do that in a direct, indirect way, but also recognize the cues that someone may be given to you that they're considering attempting suicide. And those are keys that we all should be aware of as gatekeepers. I encourage everyone to go through this program. It's only like 90 minutes. Our goal with Mental Health America is to saturate the Cabarrus County area with gatekeepers for QPR. Suicide is on the rise for everyone, every demographic. I'll have some data points from the Cabarrus County needs assessment that I'll share later, but this training is critical, QPR. And then we also offer customized training designed for businesses in the areas of self-care, workplace wellness, and de-escalation training. Mr. Chuck, I'm doing good on time? I know you said 20 minutes. Advocacy and awareness. MHA regularly holds advocacy and town halls and other forums to increase the public and policymakers' knowledge of needed mental health legislation. This includes an annual legislative breakfast. Quick plug, we'll be having our Wake Up for Wellness November the 30th at the Lorette Center, and we would love to have anyone who may be interested in becoming a table captain, Mr. Chuck, and just raising awareness for our young folks and letting people know that there's a crisis with our kids with mental health. If you have been watching the news, you've seen the stories back in my hometown near Raleigh, Wendell, North Carolina, a middle school student unfortunately took his life at school, during school. They had to shut school down at 10 a.m. So there's a crisis that's happening across North Carolina as well as the U.S., and it's important that we raise awareness and elevate this topic among concerned citizens. Next slide. All right, put your seatbelts on. We're going to go to class. Mental Health 101. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stated, "I found that with depression, one of the most important things you can realize is that you're not alone. You're not the first to go through it. You're not going to be the last to go through it," right? So what is mental illness? Mental illnesses are brain-based conditions that affect our thinking, our emotions, and our behaviors. And I'm not sure if you could do the expand the view so that some of the words can be fully expanded. There we go, boom. How do I know if I have a mental illness? Mental illness is just that, an illness. Think of your mental health the way you think about your physical health, right? Look at your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. How common is mental illness? Nearly 1 in 5 Americans live with a mental health conditions in any given year. So if you just count off yourself and 4 others, one of us is struggling, right? Some common mental health conditions within the U.S., depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Depression, major depression is one of the most common mental illnesses affecting more than 8% of all American adults each year. Anxiety disorders are illnesses that cause people to feel frightened, distressed, and uneasy for no apparent reason. Over 21% of adults are affected by these debilitating illnesses each year. And after having a year like 2020, I can attest, I've dealt with the anxiety. I haven't dealt with the depression of what we've experienced as a whole. Bipolar disorder is a mental health disorder characterized by extreme highs and lows in mood and energy. More than 3.3 million American adults suffer from bipolar disorder in a given year. And the last common one, PTSD is an anxiety disorder that can occur following the experience or witnessing of a traumatic event. It affects over 12 million American adults in any given year. And a lot of times this affects our military brothers and sisters, our veterans. All right, so Mr. Chuck gave me homework assignment. I sent him an earlier PowerPoint presentation. It didn't have anything regarding Cabarrus County. So I said, let me do my homework. Let me get into this Cabarrus County needs assessment and get some data points for folks to know about. Mental and behavioral health continues to be a top identified need, ranking number 2 among Cabarrus County residents and community stakeholders. I believe number 1 is affordable housing, and then number 3 is early childhood education and development. Data shows that from 2018 to 2019, there was a 20% increase in the number of psychiatric patients admitted to Atrium Health's Cabarrus Emergency Department. Between 2016 and 2019, admissions for anxiety, mood, psychotic disorders rose 32%, while admissions for suicidal ideation rose 36%. And all these are still before the pandemic. In 2017, Cabarrus County EMS responded to 160 calls for self-harm, and by 2020, that number rose to 225 calls, and that data is from page 24 of the 2020 Cabarrus County Community Needs Assessment. The North Carolina Violent Death Reporting System from 2009 to 2018, circumstances of suicides for Cabarrus County. So depression-linked suicide, 29% of male and 25% of female Cabarrus County suicide victims with circumstance information were characterized as being currently depressed when they completed suicide. Second data point, mental health related suicide, 76.4% of female and 48% of male suicide victims were characterized as having a current mental health problem. And then suicide attempts by gender, females, 25.5%, were more likely to have attempted suicide in the past as compared to males in Cabarrus County. So what is the cause? It's just something that happens like any other illness. In fact, there's no single cause of mental illness. It is a combination of the way your brain is structured, wired, and the environment that you've grown up in. Has anybody heard of adverse childhood experiences? Okay. Are there treatment options? For most people, some combination of lifestyle change, therapy, medication, and support, or creating that community, that Koinonia, are helpful for treating mental illness. Some of these are more effective than others for certain conditions and certain people. It may take some time to discover what works for you, but it is worth it. Treatment and recovery, that's one thing we like to share during the QPR or mental health first aid trainings, is that treatment and recovery are possible. No matter what kind of mental health problem someone is facing, it's always possible to get better. if you think you're experiencing mental illness, try to find any kind of support earlier than later. Like any other illness, treating mental illnesses early can help you get better faster. That before stage 4 philosophy. And then we have our online resources, a robust website at mhacc.org. On my far right, we have mental health screenings that are free and confidential. You just log on to it, select the link, and it'll provide you. We can do it right now. Go ahead, try it. Boom. Take a mental health test, and then you, as an individual, select which one you believe you may be wrestling with or being challenged with, and complete the assessment. Print it out. Provide it to your healthcare physician, or if you have a caregiver that you work with, give it to that person so that they can help you get connected to the right resource. Just go back to the PowerPoint. Yes, ma'am. Go. Yes, ma'am. Right. There you go, right there. Oh yeah, go to the wave right here. There you go. Next one. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna have to reload it. I know when I do that, it kicks and does something crazy. Technology, you know, you love it. Sometimes it's our best friend and worst enemy. All right. That was quick. No, you're. I want to share 2 more resources. That's it. Repetition. All right. One more, I believe. There we go. So mental health emotional toolboxes. This is a great resource. You can access the emotional toolbox and search for different categories, whether that's LGBTQIA, whether it's faith leaders toolbox that I have in my hand, whether that's parent caregivers, whether that's youth, young folks. You can access that. We won't have to do that this time, but I'll definitely just give this to Mr. Chuck and he can pass. But that's just an example of what is featured in the emotional toolbox. And it just has a wealth of information from local practitioners to practical things that you can do for yourself to take care of your mental wellness. And then thirdly, mental health provider directory. Another plug, we offer free short-term counseling for both Cabarrus and Mecklenburg residents, and that's up to 6 free sessions. So that's a wonderful resource that many do not know about, but thankful for the ARPA funds that allowed us to be an assistant for our community. All right, thank you for listening. And then just let me just plug my why. And Mr. Chuck said, hey, Dante, why's your why? And I recently, I think I'm like 100 plus days with Mental Health of Central Carolina. And I believe in this right here, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, all your ways, not the Lord, he will direct your paths. And I believe he directs my path. You know, like I told you, I saw Mr. Chuck at the coffee shop, and I was like, man, he's an influential guy. I know, I can tell. Because I was meeting with Patrick Graham. And a few days later, I got in contact with him, but I believe I'm here to help raise and elevate this critical subject matter. Mental health for everyone is important. For many communities, they haven't had access or opportunities to receive these resources. So I'm excited to be able to be a bridge builder to connect folks, connect individuals, connect communities to these resources. And starting in January 2023, we'll be partnering with the United Way of Central Carolina as well as 3 to 4 other small nonprofits. And we will be raising, elevating mental health literature, reducing the stigma of mental health diagnoses and treatment, encouraging community members to prioritize their mental health and their mental wellness, and then programs reducing barriers to access evidence-based, culturally appropriate mental health care. So just have a little reflection, 10 seconds. What have you done for yourself to take care of your mental health over the past 48 hours? That's always good. I have what I call dad naps. I got 2 little ones and they wear me out, so I have to take mini naps. But yeah, we can hop into Q&A. Disclaimer, I'm not an LPC. I'm just a messenger of this good news and this great information, and I'm a conduit to get folks connected to the resources and help that they need. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mark Robinson, retired family physician, and I was a provider, and I'm also a patient of mental health. And I was very excited to hear about those 6 free counseling visits.
Yes, sir.
Most of mental health is provided in primary care. Family physicians like myself, pediatricians, general internists, and physicians who care for women. And of the 32 years I practiced, I had 0 resources on helping people get counseling. 0.
Wow.
Will your organization, or have they gone out to the primary care practices to tell them about these 6 free visits, and how long has that been out there?
I believe Kathy Rogers, our executive director, and the team, leadership team, they've been in contact with Atrium and the Novants of our communities. And then most recently, I was at a roundtable at the Atrium 2 weeks ago and was able to share information with individuals regarding these free 6 counseling opportunities. Okay, let me make a note.
I'm going to share this with some of my colleagues.
Yes, sir.
And
Let me get to Jim because he's going to leave.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I know in your slide, in your PowerPoint presentation, you said that healing and recovery are possible. I know my wife had a nephew who was bipolar, and when he was taking his medications, he felt really good, and he stopped taking his meds, and he ended up committing suicide. I don't know if there's any kind of counseling that would help people in that situation, because I've heard of similar stories about people with bipolar disorders who really, they think they're fine, and then they kind of go off the deep end and kill themselves. Do you know of any way, like even in the present, or some development that is helping people to understand in that condition that, yes, healing and recovery are possible, but you still have to stay with the meds or with the treatment? It's kind of like somebody who has diabetes, and
yes, sir.
You can't give up on your meds or your insulin. You have to keep on going, even though you're living a healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely. They got to continue that regimen. And I noted our QPR training, that's critical. I mean, that gives the average citizen the tools that they need to know about to help that person in their circle of influence, parent, caregiver, family friend, coworker. The QPR training is what we're really hanging our hats on over the next 6 months to 12 months, is to saturate this area with gatekeepers who can stand in between the living and dead in their circle to help that individual who may be attempting to commit suicide or die by suicide. We want to create a buffer or a wall of protection for that person to let them know that, yes, you need to stay on your medical regimen, but also building that community, finding something else that gives you hope, finding other strategies that can help you stay on the path to recovery and wholeness.
LaDante, some rapid fire questions. To piggyback on Mark's question, when it comes to those 6 free sessions, is that available to anyone, or is there a qualification?
It's free for everyone, 8 years old to 99 years old.
Okay.
But you have to be Cabarrus, Mecklenburg County.
When it comes to QPR training, I know there's a cost for mental health first aid usually. How about QPR training? Is there a cost for that?
No, sir, everything's free and can be accessed at our website.
Okay.
So I know we have maybe 3 more QPR trainings. What's month? Is it September? September. But Mr. Mark, they're going to be like just spreading those trainings out until
Okay.
December.
Because perhaps we could share that in our church newsletter. And then my last question, the Compare
Yes, sir.
volunteer opportunity, how do you make those match people? And what I'm getting at, is it people with certain conditions? Because I could imagine among some volunteers, perhaps a little hesitancy, you know, are you sending me to someone with schizophrenia?
Sure.
Or, you know, how does that work?
So Candace Johnson, she's the director of our Parent Voice and Compare programs. And then Angela Garlands, she's the coordinator for Compare program. They will be able to have those details for you. I know they have a system strategy in place to make sure that they're connecting the volunteers with the appropriate individual. So I can connect you with her and her team and make that information known for you. And I just want to give a plug also. We are looking to, Mr. Kevin and Marco, we're looking to find individuals who may be interested in becoming trainers of QPR. So there's an opportunity for train the trainers, where if you're interested in becoming a trainer to facilitate trainings in your circle of influence, we can definitely help you out with that, as well as pay for that. I think it's a $500 charge to become a trainer, and MHA will write that off for that individual.
Morning. Thank you for
Good
all
morning.
that you brought. I'm overwhelmed by the comprehensive nature of all of what you're offering, and I am not familiar with MHA. And I see that the website is a new website. So I'm trying to get my mind around the scope and the approach.
Yes, ma'am.
You have something for legislators, you have something for individuals, you have something for community groups and leaders. You have programs that meet virtually every need that you can think of. How can MHA do all of that? What are your priorities? You know, you've got to sort of sequence things
Yes,
if you're
ma'am.
going into a new area, and
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
you are.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so what's the approach, and then what can individuals do?
Yes, ma'am. Good, great question. So we are a small but mighty force. I think we have like 18 full-time employees, 2 part-time folks, as well as a host of interns. And the strategy for Cabarrus County is similar in nature to what Mecklenburg County has, but we're operating based on what we found in the needs assessment. And that's what's given us the focus of what we are doing. So again, we want to raise awareness for mental health through literacy. We want to get folks trained in QPR, mental health first aid, and then we want to just let folks know that they need to take care of their mental health. When you go and do your 6-month checkups for physical checkup, you need to do the same thing for your mental health. And then we want to meet with our legislators and let them know that these are changes that need to happen in order to impact some of the most vulnerable individuals' communities. I know I've been working with connecting marginalized communities. It's said that when people have access and opportunity, it can exceed expectations. So I'm looking at connecting with communities who have not had opportunities to receive mental health care. So that's one of our goals too, being an African American male.